Welcome, everybody. Can somebody close the doors back there? Thank you. Welcome to today's meeting of August 8, 2024. We have one case, case number SU 24-022. Okay, item number one, roll call of officers, please.
Commissioner Odanga? Commissioner Lear?
Here.
Commissioner Jimenez?
Present.
Commissioner Fisher? Here. Vice Chair Zerniak?
Here.
Chair Acosta?
Present. Item number two, approval or changes to the agenda, commissioners?
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, before we move on, I believe Commissioner Uranga's online. Is that correct, Commissioner?
That is correct.
Okay, so he is present. Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Odonga's present? Okay, thank you. Approval or changes to the agenda?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion on the floor. It's been second. Any discussion on the motion? No discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it. Approval of the minutes of meeting June 27, 2024.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioners? Yes.
Mr. Chair, we will have to postpone this item. We had a glitch in the system and they were not available for approval today. So June 27th, we will bring back at the next meeting, the minutes.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
I guess we'll skip over to old business. Is that right?
We need to approve the agenda, Mel.
All right. All right, approval of the minutes. Chair entertains a motion.
I move we approve the minutes from the meeting of July 25th,
Second.
2024.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. It's been second. Any discussion on the motion? All those on this motion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Old business, number four. Item number four. All right. Item number five, new business. Staff ready? Yes, sir. And is the applicant or the representative? All right, okay. Case numbers SU 24-022, submitted by Luis Soto, the applicant.
Yes, sir. And the applicant is here today as well.
Good morning. Please state your name and address for the record.
Christopher Valencia, 845 North Motel Boulevard.
Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give today is the truth under penalty of law?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners, Chair. Welcome. For our only case today, we have agenda item number 5A, SU 24-22. The owner of the property, Renee and Susan E. Enchilon, is not here today, but the applicant, Mr. Soto, is Luis Soto. At the location is 300 Paloma Blanca Drive in Chaparral, New Mexico. The zoning is a T5 town center zone, and the request is for a special use permit to operate a cannabis retail business less than 300 feet from a residential zone. Here's the property, the subject property, right here at the corner of Chaparral Drive and Paloma Blanca, as you can see. This is McCombs here while we're going to get context, and this is Chaparral Drive. North about a mile is Lisa Drive, so just kind of finding us right that little corner. Here's the land use aerial. Here's the subject parcel again. The description of the property. The property is a 0.33 acre parcel within a T5 zone. The zone consists of a higher density mixed use buildings that accommodates retail, offices, townhouses, and apartments. There's only one building on site, which is right here. I've color coded just to show you the orange being El Valle restaurant, a vacant space here, and then here's the proposed dispensary site right there. In '88, there was a special use permit that approved the 5,350 square foot building, commercial building for El Valle, right here. It was, in '95, was zoned performance district, which was to allow flexibility for the land use activities in rural areas of the county while protecting residents and property values. In 2017, it went from performance district to the T5 with the UDC and official zoning map, and that's when it went into effect. We'll need an SUP is required if a new cannabis retail is located within 300 feet of the residence. Their water is a Lake Section Water Company, is the provider, as well as the Paloma Blanca Drive is a county-maintained collector road, 85-foot right-of-way off of McCombs. Here's McCombs right there. Here we're looking at the site just to get better context. Chaparral Drive going north. Here, Paloma Drive, Paloma Blanca Drive. And then just to show you, this is the restaurant. In the middle is a vacant retail, well, a vacant space. And then this is the proposed retail cannabis space here off to the side, about 620 square feet. Background info. The client states it was an interior remodel in the retail location, but we didn't find a building permit for that. It was not applied for. The El Valle restaurant is the primary use of the building, so the addition of the cannabis retail creates a change of occupancy, which triggers a pre-app with reviewing agencies, fire, flood, and engineering. The parking right now currently exists across the street for overflow parking, but as well as in front of the restaurant. So not only are they using this, but here also across the road, the overflow parking exists. It establishes the established restaurant business, which is not permitted per 350-603 access and parking. So there's no parking in the Doña Ana County right-of-way. If this is approved, the client, the owner, must establish additional on-site parking to comply with the building services and the changes of occupancy. Looking at the parcel close-up, here's the parking right there. You can actually see that the building itself is straddling the property line, just because it's. And then here as well, this is an open space that we're actually looking. They were discussing with the client about additional parking, but also this is property on the open property, unused property. Zoning map here shows that they are in a T5 zone. You can see that T5 hugs McCombs the whole way down, north and south. There's an additional T2 and T3 zoning as well, here off to the west side. And you just see some mixed uses as well as mobile home parks here as well, and an industrial, which is where the Lake Section water provider is. The request. In July of this year, the applicant Luis Soto submitted an SUP to request to operate a cannabis retail establishment to sell cannabis products in the existing building, which was remodeled without a permit. The T5 zone permits the use of cannabis retail within this zone, 300, but still maintaining it at 300 feet from a residential area. Hours of operations would be from 10 in the morning to 8 in the evening daily. There'll be 2 to 3 employees on site. There were 12 letters of notification mailed out for this SUP. Only 2 letters of opposition were received from the immediate neighbors, from the immediate rear neighbor and immediate side neighbor. There was 1 telephone call of the neighbor to the east, and she was actually happy because it'll change property values for her. So, but she never wrote in a letter or anything, just a telephone call. Notice was posted in the paper on July 14th, and the signs were posted in a timely manner. And here are those signs on the property. This is the location of the dispensary. And these are the area of notifications. The calls were received are from property number 3 and number 11. And in support was number 4. Just looking, here's some images of the subject parcel. Here is the proposed location. This is a vacant location, and from here is the restaurant. And this parking here is within the right-of-way. This is across the street. This is the vehicle storage, and as well as some of the overflow parking. And this is a vacant area on the subject property that planning is interested in expanding, if approved, expanding parking in this area. Looking down Chaparral Drive at the intersection of Paloma Drive, Chaparral Drive is a 60-foot right-of-way, unpaved, and Paloma Drive is 85-foot paved, county-maintained road. Here we're at the McCombs Road and Paloma Drive intersection. You can see the sign for El Valle, and then the building is right here. Looking north McCombs, 85-foot right-of-way. It's pretty wide and pretty large collector. These are the criteria for approval we're looking at for applicable plans and policies. For cannabis establishment, cannabis retailers and cannabis consumption areas may not be located within 300 feet of another cannabis retailer, cannabis consumption area, or residential area, I want to call out. The shortest direct line measurement to a residential area may be reduced by applying for an SUP, special use permit. The zoning administrator, planning and zoning commission, or BOCC may apply conditions to a SUP in order to protect the public health, safety, and welfare. And just to reiterate what cannabis retailer is, it's a licensed person that sells cannabis products to qualified patients, primary caregivers, reciprocal participants, or directly to consumers. Looking at the decisional criteria for potential traffic flows and impacts, the traffic impacts are minimal due to Paloma Blanca Drive being a collector road, exiting McCombs Road, another 85-foot collector. Access will be from Paloma Blanca Drive, a county-maintained right-of-way. The proposed SUP does not contain sufficient off-street parking and loading facilities that will be developed in accordance with this chapter. Conditions of approval are the addition of more off-street parking. The public need for commercial or residential activity and how it complies with the plan. We looked at these goals and actions, goals G6.10, action A6.10, goal G6.7, and goal G6.11. The water for the potential area, the water is provided by Lake Section Water Company, and the wastewater is provided by on-site septic. Paloma Blanca Drive is a county-maintained road and is classified as a collector. Both McCones and Chaparral Drive, which is unpaved county-maintained, intersects with Paloma Drive where the El Valle restaurant is located. The existing infrastructure is in place to support the proposed use. The El Valle restaurant has been in operation since the late 1980s. Paloma Blanca Drive is an 85-foot collector road with access to McCombs and Chaparral Drive that can accommodate increased traffic. There was no environmental clearance study performed for this case, so we don't know if there's any environmentally sensitive areas. The impact of the proposed SUP, this will be a cannabis retail facility. The property will have to meet all security measures as required by the Cannabis Control District, including security alarm systems, digital video surveillance, commercial-grade locks, limited access areas, and lighting requirements for outdoor areas. All rules and regulations are stipulated in the NM Cannabis Regulation Act that should be followed. And the applicant will implement the best management practices. As far as staff findings, the property is outside of any incorporated municipal zoning authority and is within the Doña Ana County. Therefore, the P&Z Commission has jurisdiction to hear this case. Pursuant to 350-104, the administrative authority and duties, the Planning and Zoning Commission may receive, hear, and make final determinations to approve or disapprove with conditions or deny applications for SUPs, as prescribed as subject to the procedures established therein. The public service requirements have been met and prescribed by the SUP permits. Pursuant to 350-204, the decisional criteria, the SUP is consistent with the health, safety, and general welfare for the residents of the county per the intent of the UDC, as stated by goal G6.10, to keep money from leaking out of the county action. A6.10, plug the leaks in sales and services. In goal G6.7, to support regional small-scale businesses, including agriculture, as well as goal G6.11, to protect and enhance the county market for goods and services. Pursuant to 350-501 zoning districts, the land use classification matrix, the operation of the cannabis retail in T5 is allowed. However, a special use permit is required if the property is within 300 feet of a residential property. And pursuant to 350-502, the cannabis establishment is not located within 300 foot of a school, K through 12, or daycare center, since this is zoned T5 and it is a commercial location. The Cannabis Regulation Act includes a social and economic equity mandate. It encourages the adoption of procedures to promote and encourage full participation in the cannabis industry of representatives of communities that have disproportionately been harmed by rates or arrests through the enforcement of cannabis prohibitions, and encourage racial, ethnic, gender, geographic diversity, and New Mexico residency among the licensed applicants, licensees, and cannabis industry employees. Policies must also encourage representatives from rural communities that are likely to be impacted by cannabis production, including agriculture producers from economically disadvantaged communities. Pursuant to 350-502, the zoning administrator, Planning and Zoning Commission or BOCC commissioners may apply conditions to a SUP in order to protect the public health, safety, and welfare. Therefore, the staff recommendations, based on the findings of fact, staff analysis, and agency comments, the staff recommends conditional approval of case SU 24-022 to operate cannabis establishment for the retail sales with the following conditions. A pre-app meeting with the building services, engineering, fire and flood will be required to meet all applicable construction, fire and safety, life safety codes. Approve the SUP will only be for cannabis retail sales at this location. Hours will be from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. daily. Additional on-site parking shall be provided for the cannabis retail establishment, and the site plan must comply with the UDC standards. And this concludes my presentation. I do yield for questions or comments.
Does that
I have a
conclude your
question.
presentation?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead. Any questions of
Yeah.
staff?
Quick question. So, as far as the septic system goes, there's gonna be more people, right now, it's of course, a restaurant. And, my question is it gonna be updated because there's gonna be more people coming in, or will it be staying the same?
I'm assuming, I think you're talking about the quantity of people, the amount of people increased traffic to the area, Commissioner?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's my question. There's going to be, right now it's approved for the people that are coming in and out of the restaurant. And if it's approved, then of course we're going to have more people using the restrooms. Will that be, will the septic system be required to accommodate more people, or will it be left as is?
In terms of the facilities for the dispensary, this will be a discussion that we have to have with the applicant. The applicant is here, can inform you about those interior remodels. He did show us pictures, but I think that's a question for the applicant. I think that with some dispensaries, I think that restrooms are locked or closed off. I think that's up to the applicant. In terms of parking space for the restaurant, we've also asked for and recommended additional parking so that the dispensary customers don't take parking from that usage, which is the restaurant. So part of the additions that we're asking are for extra and additional parking.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioner Hernandez, did you have a question?
Would you show us again the locations of the individuals who sent the opposition letters?
Yes, ma'am. Oh, nice. So here it is, the properties 3 and 11 were the individuals that called in opposition. In supports number 4. Number 3, they have been there for 25 years. They're an elderly couple that raised 2 kids, and now they're helping raising their grandkids. That they just want to make sure it's safe for their grandkids, and they specifically mention safety.
Okay.
Number 11, it's an elderly lady. The son called in for her. She lives alone, and he wants to make sure that whatever stipulations were put on previous approved dispensaries were placed on them as well. He didn't have a problem with the dispensary. He just wants safety for his mother.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Mel,
Yes.
how far is the house residence from the proposed establishment?
From the building to the house is 31 feet.
Okay,
And
so
that would be from, I would say, from eave to eave, because that's measuring from the map.
I'm just curious about this, Chris. What's the relationship between the Sotos and the Antillons? Do they know that they've proposed this use for this building since they own it?
I don't know the relationship per se, how close they are, but I do know that there was a previous SUP there was an application for an SUP for this location last year. And I know that this location has been trying to create retail space there. I don't know if it's been cannabis off and on, but I do know that there was a couple of applicants that came and wanted this location for cannabis as well, but that fell through. So I think that this relationship that they have, I think with people trying to sell it out or rent it out for cannabis, I think they realize that this is a hot spot for it, but I don't think they realize the ramifications of the approval.
So in relation to Commissioner Fisher's question, has El Bio made any statement regarding parking?
They have, that's I think a question also for the applicant. I have mentioned it via email that some of the conditions are the requirement of more additional parking. And I think just talking to the applicant, I think they're aware of additional space on property that can be used for.
Okay, I'll ask the applicant. What's the position of the county on the remodel of the building without the building permit?
We would like to sit down with them and figure out if there are any violations that we don't know about.
Okay. And from the county's perspective, where's the best place to put the additional parking?
Out of the right of way.
Well, but where? I mean, it doesn't look like there's many options here.
Correct, correct. I think that just discussing with the applicant now, I think that just looking at this image, this right itself speaks a lot. Where this red vehicle is, I'll show you a picture right now. Right there. So this is unused, available space within the property that if they needed a second entrance, you can easily go off of Chaparral, I think, with the permit. But this space is unused, and I think it's available. I can't speak for the owner or the applicant, but I think that this shows an opportunity that we could capitalize on
Okay,
if they want to move forward with this.
okay. I'll ask the applicant.
Okay, any further questions of staff? No? Commissioner Uranga? All right,
No questions.
all right, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
All right. Is Mr. Luis Soto in? We're going to ask you to swear in. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Please raise your right hand and state your name and address for the record.
Luis Soto, 130 Riverside, Summit Park, New Mexico.
Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give today is the truth under penalty of law?
Yes.
Thank you.
Morning.
Give us your narrative.
I'm sorry?
Let us know. Tell us what you want to say to us, okay?
Okay. As far as the parking, I had spoke to Mr. Rene. As far as the relationship goes, what happened is that I was looking for a place to rent. I came up on the building, stopped at the restaurant, and just went up and asked. They had told me that that building had been, I guess, renovated for that same use by somebody else, but that person didn't come back with the money when it was time to come into the chambers and everything. So they had that place ready to go. So I talked to them, and they agreed to kind of rent it out to me. Speaking to them about the parking space, he says that they've been there for years, and he has no problem with across the street or with using the building where we're proposed. There's a building next to it, which would be, I guess, letter B or number 2. I'm not sure what the number is on there, right next to where the Coke is. And they're not going to fix that for a while, so that parking space is available to us as well. To the right side, if you could see, there's a dirt pile right there. We plan on removing that dirt pile and using that as parking space as well. Right here. This would be the area would I be. To your left over here, this building is not going to be remodeled anytime soon. And we could use their parking spots as well. From what I've seen, while visiting the restaurant and stuff like that, parking doesn't get all the way over here. The customer base they have, it's like more of a home base customer base. So they regularly park there or in front of the street. Like they don't cross to this side. So I don't know if it's because that's their only customer base, 3 or 4 cars at the most, but they usually don't park on this side when I've been there and it's like lunch hour. As far as the hours, those are the proposed hours. We don't know I don't know what the market is there. It might be less. We do plan closing on Sundays, probably Mondays, just depending how it goes on sales first. It is a family-owned business, which is me. I do have 2 daughters. I do care for their safety as well. So I do plan to do everything by the book and have the security system, everything that's implied by and asked for by the county.
So do I see a rock wall between the 2 properties in the background?
Right here?
No, other picture. Oh, I see, that one.
So this is a storage, this looks like a garage, but it is missing a roof. This is not included in the 620 square feet that was renovated. This right here, this is just, I think, an old garage, but the roof has been removed.
And that's the home to the right?
This is a home, correct. That's the mobile home that the woman, the lady is happy because she would like to sell the property. If the property value goes up because of the dispensary, then she's happy for that reason. She would like to sell.
So she's not protesting?
She's not.
She's in favor.
She's in favor, correct.
And that appears to be the residence that's closest in proximity to the establishment as well?
That is correct, yes. That is the closest, and then behind it would inches away. I mean, it's just as close, yeah.
Thank you.
I would like to remark that while being there, nobody lives on that trailer that they want to sell. So it's an empty area that.
What was the status on that mobile home?
It's vacant.
Okay,
Mr. Chair,
go ahead.
if you could please just give us a quick overview in regards to the security that you'd be providing. It sounds like the biggest concern is security. If you could please give us all an overview of the type of patrons that you would expect to serve within your retail establishment, as well as the type of security that you'll be providing and who's permitted within that facility as well.
Okay. I don't know if I could close up on this picture, but it has rebars on the windows already. The current location already has an outdoor security camera. I know because as soon as I drive up, the owner calls me, "Hey, I see you pulling up." So that's one system already installed. As far as our system, we go with security camera, mag lock for the front door, and then it would be either access by digital code or card, RIF card.
And what kind of patrons would you be serving at your establishment?
Yes.
Who would typically be entering your retail establishment?
Yes, as you could see, many dispensaries around the area like to promote and have a big party about it. We want to bring people a little bit more mature, not looking for that flashy cannabis retail space, more of an upfront where a doctor could come in, go in and out without causing too much attention. So that's the type of people we're trying to bring in.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, if I may elaborate a little bit on that, what I was actually, trying to press you towards is, give us a rundown of what are some of the requirements for that establishment to operate as far as security goes. Just for public notice and commissioner input as well. I would like to put out there that it is a requirement by state law, CCD, that you have a security system that is functioning for at least a period of 30 days, where the CCD or anybody can come back and watch that footage for a period of 30 days. In addition to that, what I was hoping to hear from you regarding your patrons is, who's permitted within that facility? Nobody under the age of 21 is permitted within an establishment unless they have a medical card and are accompanied by a guardian or a parent. So I was hoping that we'd get something from you regarding that, but I do just want to make it clear for the public who's watching as well as our board here. Again, retail establishments are not permitted to allow anybody within the establishment who's under the age of 21 and or does not have a medical card who is under that age. And again, there are strict security protocols that are required by CCD that you also must follow.
Yes,
I did hear earlier that, you would follow all of our county rules and regulations, and of course, I believe that also goes without saying that, you'd be following all state and CCD requirements as well.
yes, and I apologize, I misunderstood your question. Yes, we do have another a location that we're trying to open up in Sunland Park. We already have the system installed. As far as what you said about the security, it would be DVR, and then it would also be online monitoring as well. Like you said, no one in the premises would be allowed without a proper ID identification. We would register the customers that are medical if they're underage. That way we know when they're coming in and stuff like that. We do, like I said, we do have another property or location in Sunland Park that was hard to get, and that's how I met Mr. Rene, because we thought that was going to fall through. So that's, yes, to follow up your question, yes, it would be DVR, plus I think the CCD asked for an actual security company to monitor as well. So that would be another layer as well.
Okay, and as a point of order, okay, Commissioner Jimenez also has a business with cannabis, and I'd like to ask Commissioner Jimenez.
To disclose? Absolutely. Yes, Mr. Chair, so as I normally have in the past, I often disclose that I am in the cannabis industry myself. I would not be affected in any way of the opening of your establishment. I have no personal gain. In fact, you and I have never spoken or met with one another, and I have no relationship with this business in any way, shape, or form.
No.
So you are willing to, do you want to recuse yourself, or would you?
No, sir. No, I would not like to recuse myself. Again, I would not benefit in any way, shape, or form if we were to move forward or not move forward with this vote.
Okay.
I don't have any personal interest in this.
So it's not a question necessarily of benefit. The question is, can you fairly judge it one way or the other? That's the only question. And if you say yes, then we're okay.
The answer is correct. Yes, sir. I can fairly judge, and fairly make a decision regarding this, this case before us.
Okay.
All right, we can continue.
So, Mr. Soto, what's your relationship to is it Antolon?
I think so.
Family?
Like I said, sir, while doing the Sunland Park site, it's been over 2 years and we still haven't been able to open due to stuff like this. So we thought it was going to fall through. I started looking for the next location. I was driving up down Chaparral looking for empty lots to buy. I drove up the street, saw the restaurant, saw that they had extra buildings next to it. I just stopped by. The owners were there in the restaurant. I spoke to them, and they didn't really think about it much. They said that they were done with the building. They were going to sell it, and that was it right then and there. A month later, they told me that the buyer of the building didn't buy the building, so they were willing to rent out the building that somebody else wanted to rent out as well for that same reason, for cannabis. Mr. Rene is a veteran. He did call me last night to come in for support. He is missing one leg, so I asked him not to. But as far as a personal relationship, it would just be as a landlord and tenant
So do you have a contract with them?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah, he's-
I had to sign the lease in order for me to proceed to the step.
Okay.
And like I said, I'm a network engineer. I pretty much left my job back to do this full time. I spent all my pretty much savings and retirements that I had saved up for this. So it's been a full 2 years that I've been working on this, but full time 4 months that I left my job to accomplish this.
Thank you.
Any further questions? I have a question. When they drive into your establishment, how do they back into Paloma Drive?
What I've seen when the restaurant, it's usually 2 cars, 3 cars, and they just drive back and then turn around. To tell you the truth, I didn't really notice how they back up, but there's only 2, 3 cars around there when I've been there.
Okay. And engineering, can you please step forward, Bernadette? And don't leave yet. We're going to swear you in.
Good morning. Please raise your right hand and state your name and address for the record.
Bernadette Jendown, 845 North Motel.
Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give today is the truth under penalty of law?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
morning,
What is
Commissioners.
what is the level of, it's just a collector, but I'm saying, has any traffic count been done on that road?
It's been a while, I think. I think they're working on a study right now. They're working on a study for the whole county for like traffic impact.
So there's no traffic count? There's no traffic count on that collector, right?
I would have to check. I don't have it on me. I would
Okay.
have to check. But it is considered a collector. The parking is within the right-of-way. They should not be parking. Nobody should be parking in that right-of-way. I mean, they're backing right into traffic. I mean,
Oh,
I don't know. I
Well,
know
mean,
it's
but-
a
but
rural
I'm-
area. People think, oh, it's a rural area, but it's really, it is a collector, so it should be treated as a collector.
so are you saying in this picture, if, as they back out, they're actually backing into the
They're
street?
actually, those cars that are parked there are parked in the county right-of-way.
They are.
They are.
So you want them out of there.
They should not be parked there. I mean, if you think about it, that means any business that's like that, right? Because that building is a non-conforming. It's illegal non-conforming right now. So technically, they are parking in the county right-of-way, and they should not be parking. They need to seek additional parking as been suggested by the planners, and so
It really sounds like you're saying they need a new parking place, not
They do.
additional.
but they need to find parking, right?
So
They
they're
should not be
actually-
parking there.
Should there be signs posted here saying no parking?
Yes.
So Bernadette, so there's a sign that says no parking?
No, there should be.
Should
But
be.
we shouldn't have to put that up there. I mean, it's county right away. I don't know how else to say it's county right away without saying it's county right away. I mean, I'm not trying to,
No, I mean, it's a safety issue.
it is a safety issue, yes, sir.
So it sounds like,
Well,
the facility that's already operating there as well as the proposed both need to be looking into utilizing that side property for actual parking, not additional parking, but for parking.
Yes, sir.
and that is a county-maintained road, right? Paved
Yes, sir.
road? Right.
Yes, sir.
So that apron where these cars are parked, right? There should be no parking there,
Yes, sir.
but we have a restaurant there.
Yes, sir.
And of course, this case at one time or another for a special use permit was approved, am I correct? Commissioner Zernia?
Yes, it was. It was approved back in 1998, SUP at this location.
1988,
SUP for this building.
but that wouldn't be in effect any longer.
So,
And it was under the old zoning ordinance. So
So,
that's, I mean, that's irrelevant. That doesn't make any difference.
so even on the satellite parking, right? How would they ingress and egress out of that satellite parking?
They'd have to, well, again, they would have to, if it's a parking, well, let's say it's a parking lot, say they have more than 10 spaces, they're gonna have to pave it. So they're gonna have to show us how they're getting in and getting out, because it is onto a county-maintained road, so they'll have to have a driveway permit. So there's a process that they'll have to go to. So they'll have to have a licensed engineer create that for them.
However, on the agency comments, it says no issues with the SUP at this time. On our agency comments. That's what prompted my question. So there is issues. Commissioners, any questions of Engineer Bernadette? No.
So I'd like to ask the applicant a question.
Okay, yeah, go ahead,
Mr.
thank you.
Soto? So do you realize the problem with this building?
Now I do. That wasn't disclosed to me. Like I said, they had told me that it had been approved previously, recently, to the same thing. And that's why I saw it as an opportunity, because they said that it had been approved already.
Who told you that?
The owners. And then when I came here, they also said that they had applied for the permit already.
So when, Mr. Soto, so when you came in and talked to staff, who did you speak with?
Mr. Chris?
Okay.
And
Did
he
you discuss with him at any one point in time the parameters of what could happen, or?
Yes, we did. There is discussion about the overall property and it's the difficulties that present itself. We don't want to turn away applicants and say that this is not, that they can't do it. I explained that this property has violations, explained that there is a right-of-way, and that if this would be approved, the pre-app would pull this out. If this is approved, he doesn't have to move forward with the dispensary for the usage of this location. It's going to be up to the owner. But at least he has the approval because he went through the process. And these are the problems that show themselves throughout the process. But I did let him know it's going to be difficult and I did list many of the reasons, but at the same time, we still don't want to turn away and,
Okay,
this is something that he wants to move forward with, and this is something that that's why we moved forward.
all right. Okay, thank you.
He didn't make that clear. What I meant is that I didn't know that we had to build a new parking lot on the side. That's all new. So we thought we would need 1 or 2 spaces. Mm-hmm. And like I said, the owners told me that, oh yeah, we park across the street. So that kind of eased my mind as well.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
This may be a question that's more suited for engineering. It was mentioned if they were to put 10 parkings or more on the side, it would need to be paved. And this is really kind of a two-part question regarding the restaurant as well as the proposed facility before us. How many parking spaces would they need within that lot to operate both businesses is really my question. Because I'd like to know if that lot has enough space for however many parking spaces would be needed to operate those 2 facilities.
And Bernadette, before you answer that question, let me just, I want to clear this up. If they park across the street, are they in the right of way as well?
Yes, yes, unless they're parking like on someone's property, yeah, they'll be in a.
So they can't,
Yes,
legally, they can't park there either.
correct.
Thank you.
So regarding the parking, they'll actually need to have either a license, it'll have to be a New Mexico licensed engineer. They need to follow, because the county follows the ITE parking generation manual, and so they'll have to go off that because that's where they'll get their calculations for each business. Because each business requires a certain amount of parking per the square footage. And so I can't give you an exact amount because there's calculations involved, so.
I think what Commissioner, you're getting at affordability. They don't have to pave the whole lot.
I'm not necessarily getting at affordability. What I'm getting at is I want to know, because obviously.
You want to know how many
as-
parking
as-
spaces they need total.
Correct. As you've explained, they're in violation currently where the parking is being
Right.
operated.
Correct.
So what I would like to know is if both facilities can operate by utilizing that as parking.
Right.
And if the answer is no, that space is only enough to operate one facility, then that'll help me make my determination here today.
Right. And unfortunately, I can't give you that answer because it is a calculation. It does need to be done by a licensed engineer.
Understood.
And we follow the ITE parking generation manual.
Thank you.
But wouldn't that question have to be posed to the Antion family, the people that own the whole property? I mean, that is not Mr. Soto's concern, the parking for the
Right.
the restaurant.
Correct.
And you can understand our position.
I do. Definitely do.
We not only have to deal with the SUP with conditions, right? But we have an issue with traffic flow,
And it's right in an intersection.
uncertainty of any issues with satellite parking, any agreements with the person that owns that parcel. And not only that, on that apron, I just, we're trying to get everything to compliance. Okay, so,
Understood.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to bring up a different issue, I think. If you look at the regulations 350-502G, it says that you can't have a cannabis dealership within 300 feet of a residential area. This commission in the past has approved SUPs for less than 300 feet, but it's been slightly less than 300 feet. The second line there says that that may be reduced. I just have a problem with it. Doesn't feel like it's being reduced. It feels like it's being eliminated. We've had one in the past where we went from 300, I believe, to 280 feet, and that was approved. This one, we're going from 300 to 0. And to me, that seems like that flies in the face of the intent of that regulation.
Yeah, I agree. It's, the property is full of problems.
Yeah.
I mean, it's in violation. It doesn't have parking as it stands. And the request is to go to 0 feet.
Right.
That,
With neighbors who are opposed.
yeah, and have kids,
Yes.
so.
But is that 0 feet to the property owner that has said she's willing to sell? Or what is it to the back?
No, I think it's to the back.
It's to the back.
It's to the back
It's to the
property.
north. That's, because they share a property line, so that essentially is 0.
Zero lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to clarify, it's not property line, it's from the building itself, so it is a little more than 0. So just to clarify that, my big concern is the parking. My big concern is, being able to back out while there's traffic coming, causing an accident. I would really like some assurances, and it is written within staff recommendations that additional off-street, I don't think it should be additional, it should be off-street parking shall be provided for the cannabis retail establishment. I guess this is a question for the applicant. If it were to be approved, would you be able to provide that off-street parking?
And that means, Mario, or Bernadette, that means paved, right? They would have to pave it
Yeah.
for 10 or more spaces?
Mhm.
Okay.
Is that something that you'd be prepared to do to provide additional parking?
For 10 parking spaces?
Provide parking, not additional, but actual
Just
parking.
provide.
I would have to see how much it costs to build 10 parking spaces. I think the space is only 600 square feet, so I don't know where I would have that many parking spaces needed.
Chair, just to provide a little bit of input on this, the code does refer to the ITE manual for, coming up with the number of parking spaces that are required. So one of the conditions on here was to, if the SUP is approved, to actually follow through with a pre-application meeting with the building services, county engineering, and the fire marshal's office. So one of the issues that's going to be looked at, of course, it's going to be whether or not they're going to be able to provide a parking area within that vacant portion of the lot. So that's going to be determined by looking at the current land use that's there, the current operation, the square footage. And from there, I mean, if it turns out that they need more than 10 parking spaces, then the area will have to be paved. If it turns out that it's less than 10 parking spaces, then all they have to do is just provide some kind of material on there, to mitigate dust and that kind of stuff. So it doesn't have to be, fully paved. The only area that would have to be paved would be the handicap parking spot. Right. So all that's going to be determined. And of course, if the SUP is approved, then all that information will have to be provided at that pre-application meeting, as long as any other information that or requirements that building services comes out with, because they still have to go out there and see, what kind of remodels have been done on the property. But I think, by including that condition on there, that's going to capture a lot of the concerns that are being discussed right now.
So Albert, if you look at the requirement for parking, wouldn't it have to be for the whole building?
It's going to have to be for the whole building. County engineering has already made the statement that no parking can occur within their right-of-way. So it's going to have to be for the existing restaurant and the proposed use, which would be cannabis retail.
But not the vacant building in between, even though it's part of the building?
It will be, I'm sure there's like a general equation just for square footage, but without knowing what exactly is going to go in there, it's going to be hard to determine that. I mean, we can give a general calculation of, one parking spot for every, 1,000 square feet or whatever. But because it's vacant right now, it's going to be hard to determine, but I'm sure they can come up with some general calculation for
Well,
that.
as long as it's retail.
Yes.
If it's retail, the calculation is there.
Yeah. But the ITE basically, it just breaks it down into uses. So not just a retail category or a general commercial category. I think right now, there's categories for restaurants, drive-throughs, retails. There might already be one for cannabis. I'm not sure.
So Albert, just to be clear, if we were to move forward with what's before us, the applicant would not be permitted to operate in any way, shape, or form until meeting all these conditions?
That is correct.
Just wanted to hear that. Thank you.
And regardless of the parking issue, you still have Commissioner Lear's concern about reducing that distance to zero. I mean, that's a problem that can't go away.
So yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Mr. Soto, do you understand clearly the issues that we have to deal with here?
Yes, sir.
And the way I see it is that there's safety issues here, and we are in, our concern is the safety and general welfare of the public, okay? Including the establishment. It's not that we're not opposed to having the business there, but there's a lot of issues that are really conflicting for us.
Yes, sir.
And so, on the special use permit, I'm not too sure what we'd like to do at this time, okay? We're going to discuss it here before
Yes, sir.
we do a vote on it, all right? But do you understand the issues at hand, though, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody else in the gallery for or against this this case in front of us? I don't don't see anybody out there. Okay, I'm going to close it to the public. And Mr. Soto, we may ask you to come back again, so don't leave. All right, commissioners, we need to discuss the issues at hand. Commissioner Zerniak?
I think I stated what my concerns were.
Right, okay. Well, do you want to make a motion? Are we ready for a motion?
I don't know. Let's see if anybody else is in.
Anybody else, Commissioner Jimenez?
You know, my biggest concern, again, is going to be the right-of-way. My biggest concern is somebody backing out, hitting somebody turning around, not catching their blind side, somebody hitting them. You know, McCombs can be a busy road. If personally, if that parking can be resolved and everybody be moved off of that right-of-way, that would satisfy my concerns.
Except for one issue. Zero lot line,
I'm sorry?
the zero lot line. That's permanent.
I don't think he's,
Understood, understood that being a concern of yours, but, you know, primarily, again, my concern would be the parking. You know, as outlined, we do have discretion to reduce or eliminate that 300 feet. You know, I'm personally aware of establishments, not just in this county, but others, where, you know, they literally share a fence line or a wall and if continue to operate just fine. Again, my concern is the safety of the public, and right now the safety that I see is the traffic flow and the parking within that facility.
I think that the concerns of the public are being, turn it on.
No, yeah.
I think the
No,
concerns.
go ahead. We just get closer to the mic, yeah.
The concerns of the public are being addressed by putting in the request that they comply with all these conditional items, which parking is included in there. And I think we need to depend on our departments, our engineering and building services departments, to make sure that those requirements are met. And I don't believe that it's up to us to make those decisions here, because we don't have all the information, how many spaces are required. And we don't have a full understanding at this point about the restaurant and what parking and what was covered at the time they got their approval.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I'll concur with the Commissioner's comments. I mean, if we were to move forward, and as Albert's already addressed with us here today, you know, before this establishment would be permitted to operate and move forward, they would have to meet all the conditions before us. And I think if those conditions are met, you know, best of luck. If those conditions are not met, I hope you find a place that will suit your needs.
Commissioner Uranga, are you still on?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay, and you understand the issues at hand, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty concerned about the parking and also concerned about the business itself right now being non-compliant. So, you know, it's looking like the applicant would have to go through a lot of hurdles to get all those things done. And of course, he doesn't own the building, so that would probably have to be the owner to get the building compliant first of all, and then look at the other issues.
Okay, thank you. I believe we're ready to entertain a motion, Commissioners.
Mr. Chair, I'd be happy to make a motion to approve case number SU 24-022 with the following conditions. One, that the applicant attend and comply with everything within the pre-application meeting. That the location only be utilized for retail sales and nothing more. That they remain within their operating hours of 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. daily. And that they establish, not additional, but they actually establish approved parking for that facility, and that the site plan comply with all UDC standards. That is my motion, sir.
I second the motion.
I'd like to add that they be required to put up no parking signs in front of the establishments. so that people know they can't park in front of the building.
And Mr. Chair, I don't know if that's something we can require them to put on a right of way,
Certainly can,
on the right of way.
absolutely.
I'd be happy to amend my motion to include that. Street. That signage, I'd like to amend my motion that they also include no parking signage on the right of way.
I second the amended proposal.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor, Commissioners. It's been second. And we're ready for a vote. Does anybody, but wait a minute, does anybody understand the motion clearly? Okay. All right.
Commissioner Uranga,
No.
Commissioner Lear,
No.
Commissioner Jimenez,
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher,
Yes.
Vice Chair Zerniak,
No. But I'm going to say why. I know that with a special use
can you
permit,
talk into your mic?
I know that a special use permit doesn't necessarily create a precedent. So if we reduce the distance to 0, it doesn't, it's not an ironclad rule that everything that comes after this could go to 0. But it certainly creates an argument for other applicants to go to that position. So for that reason and the issue of parking, I'm voting no.
Chair Acosta.
No. And the same that Commissioner Zerniak, those are my concerns. The safety and general welfare of parking, ingress and egress is a concern to me. And most would probably say, well, you allowed that. So we have an accident on Palomas Drive, right? That's a big if. I mean, however, we have to respond to that. And so I hope you understand that, Mr. Soto. So my answer to that is no. Go ahead, come on forward.
Commissioner Lear, can you state your reasoning?
Yes, I share the other commissioners' concern about parking and public safety. I would also agree with Commissioner Cerniak in that it may not produce a ironclad precedent, but it does give future applicants, they can point to this as, as a precedent. And I'm just concerned that if we continue down this road, the SUPs are basically going to negate the rule about 300 feet. And it'll become not really a rule anymore, so.
Commissioner Uranga?
He voted no, I believe.
Yes, my reason was, for saying no is due to the building currently being non-compliant, also the parking and safety issue, and also it being just so close to a residential home. 30 feet is very, very close. So yeah, that's my reason for no.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Soto, if you have any questions regarding the deliberation of the case, please, after the meeting, concur with staff, okay? Thank you. All right. Okay, item number 6, administrative approvals.
We don't have any to report this month, Mr. Chair, or yet, I should say.
Okay, thank you. Staff input.
Chair, just, we will be having a P&Z meeting next week, 2 weeks. So clear your schedules. We will have a water presentation there that Janine was able to set up, so thank you. And we'll be talking about the amendments, the proposed amendments too.
On the next meeting would be what date?
22nd.
And we're having the water resource person coming for us? Okay.
That's correct, Chair.
And what is the topic that he's going to talk to us about?
Water issues in Doña County is a general title, but he's open to any suggestions and is curious about the length of time you would like for him to present, and as well as questions and answers.
Okay, so if we have some questions regarding, so he can hopefully answer. I'd also like to know if we could have continuing work sessions regarding this issue on water. And I have some items. Well, number one, is there any way that maybe Gary Esslinger could ask to come and give us some information on, number one, total acreage of Ag 1 throughout the county? And the levels of agricultural, I mean, what is being grown out there? And the parcels that have become vacant for whatever reason, Ag 1? And if you can explain to us how water is transferred when a property is sold, Ag 1 property, and what happens to once a property is bought, and how do they transfer water rights? Mr. Carrasco from PC8 way back during the UDC meeting stated that most normally the farm, the sale of farm land is usually farmer to farmer, not farmer to developer. But I always ask that question. Say, for instance, you had a parcel of property, 40, 50 acres, very close to the city for access to city sewer, because sewer dictates the development. What happens, well, I know that the developer would have to transfer the water rights to the city. They wanted to do a subdivision, right? But I mean, when you have water rights, so 1 acre, 3 acres, or 5 acres, and how does the water being transferred to another farmer? Is it sold, or is it leased, or we'd like to have answers regarding that issue. And then on the water conservation data by the Asombro Institute, I wonder if the person's going to give us their presentation, if he can address that. Irrigated agricultural water use, livestock use, commercial use, industrial and mining use, power use, and the evaporation rate on flood irrigation. And he may not be able to answer everything because it's, but these are the things that I'd like to look at as we go into work sessions. The Center for Development and Use of Alternative Water Supplies. I know that New Mexico State is working on that, and the Bureau of Reclamation. And is desalination sustainable use of water supplies? And again, NMSU uses satellite technology to evaluate water resources, and I'd like to know if he can explain to us the geological formations of what we have, the sustainability and the quality of water that we have. A lot of issues for work sessions. And I'll share the other ones as we go.
Chair, the only thing I would recommend, if anybody has any other questions, just go ahead and email them to us, so we can maybe forward them over to the presenter, and maybe he's a little bit prepared. So we have a couple of days to come up with some answers. So if you want to just email the questions, that we can try and forward over to the presenter.
And and I've said it time and time again, as we go forward with development, we want to have planning. We do a lot of zoning, okay? Now we need to do more planning. How are we going to be able to accommodate commercial use, agricultural use? So we need to plan for that, not just for right now, but for the future, right? And so these are my concerns. And I hope that maybe we can, with staff, we can get some work sessions going like we did with the UDC. All right.
Where can we access your outline to the presentations?
I don't know if we're going to get a preview of his PowerPoint, but if we do, we'll include it the same way we've been handing out the packets.
At least an outline of the topics that are going to be discussed or
Yeah,
presented.
we'll come up with an agenda, and we'll send that out, in a similar manner to this meeting too, so.
Mr. Chair? Yes. Just a quick comment about this last case. I'm concerned about staff recommendations. If we accepted those 5 recommendations as they were stated, we wouldn't have caught the concern that Commissioner Jaramillo had, and we would not have addressed the issue of those cars being parked in front of that retail establishment. So I'm not sure why that wasn't addressed in the recommendations, that they shouldn't have been allowed to park there. And we were hearing about additional parking spaces to the, I guess it's to the north. And it's very possible that if we had let that happen, cars would have lined up in front of the other property because there's no fence there or anything. So I'm concerned about that. And Chris, this isn't a criticism. It almost looks like boilerplate for these recommendations. I want to be careful that, one, it's clear to the applicant that there's a whole bunch of problems. Maybe you did talk to him, but I didn't get that from him when he was speaking, that there were all these issues, especially the issue of the potential cost of replacement parking in front of the establishment. The other thing, it seems like you've worked with us enough that you know that if you're going from 300 feet to 0, the commission, I don't think you have to say the commission's going to reject that, but it's certainly legitimate to say the commission's going to have a serious concern about such an extreme reduction.
And that is mentioned to the applicant every time.
Okay.
But the applicant has the right to
Sure they do.
to do this and go through the process as everybody else.
Okay.
We're only there for recommendations, not per se advice. But and we also do trust that our pre-apps are done correctly and all our agencies are there. So the conditions might have not been met, but I feel that the pre-app would have caught that definitely.
But see, you're putting it on us to guess what those are, right? And that what it means is this: Commissioner Fisher relayed this. We didn't have complete information, right? Like the parking space issue, we should have had some idea about how many parking spaces. I don't know what's in the code. I can't remember. But if like you said, Albert, it's less than 10, it doesn't have to be paved. We should have had some idea, given this establishments that could potentially be there, how many parking spaces he would have had to pave or the owner would have had to pave if it was over 10. And he didn't know. So it's just that we didn't have complete information. I was a little uncomfortable with that.
Mr. Chair, just to follow up on that, a question as well as a comment. I'll agree, it'd be nice to have a little more information like that regarding the parking. And my question is, with the commissioner's initial concerns, those would have been addressed, correct me if I'm wrong, under staff recommendations number 1, correct? If we would have gone through and made sure that all fire as well as safety codes would have been followed, eventually somebody would have caught that they needed X amount of parkings. Is it safe to assume that?
Well, Bernadette had
Other
already
than letting
caught-
us know in advance, this is how many parking somebody would have needed, that would have been nice to have up front.
Yeah.
But would it have been caught during the pre-plan or the pre-app meeting? Is that something that would have been caught or not have been caught?
Yes, it would have been caught. Correct.
Thank you.
I mean, I don't understand why they weren't cited for parking there in the first place.
Oh.
Is that a?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a hard one. I mean, this business has been in operation since 1988.
Albert, I'm sorry, can you talk into the mic? Because
Oh,
it's,
sorry. Oh, it's like right next to me. I don't know when we started maintaining that road. You know, so I mean, could there be an argument that, hey, we've been in operation since 1988, the county wasn't, the dirt was, the road was dirt when we were operating. We've been parking here for almost 40 years. What do you mean I can't park out here? You know, I mean, all those are issues that we could have looked at. You drive down Highway 28, down South Main Street, and, you know, there's similar businesses all over the place. And then to put it on engineering to go out there and monitor every business that has access right off of, you know, one of the right-of-ways, I mean, that's asking a lot, you know? I mean, we just, you know, do it on a case-by-case basis. Sometimes we catch them early on. Sometimes we catch the violations when we're out there, you know, taking pictures, you know, a week before the, you know, the hearing. But I do agree with Commissioner Jimenez, you know, having a pre-app, you know, so the applicant can meet, you know, the conditions, really ensures whether or not they're going to move forward with the project. We had a pre-app this week for the guy that we had on our last PNT meeting, you know, the guy that was doing the storage of commercial vehicles down there on Borderland. And, you know, we hashed out most of the comments. They're down to having to provide the fire marshal's office with the fire flow test. And if that comes through, then, you know, they'll be ready to move forward. So, you know, it's on a case-by-case basis. Sometimes we catch them early on. Sometimes, you know, it's later on in the process. But, you know, eventually, you know, they work it out. And if they can't, then they can't operate.
Is that entire complex grandfathered at this time for parking? El Bayo Restaurant and probably all the property they own right there?
The business is grandfathered in. The operations are grandfathered in. Whether or not they can park there,
Needs to be checked.
Didn't,
Yeah, let me just say, my concern is that I agree with Commissioner Jimenez and what Chris said, is going through the process, that probably would have all been caught. My problem is Mr. Soto had to go through this whole process and go through this with really not having all the information he needed. And I mean, I felt bad for him because he signed a lease, he's trying to get this business off the ground, and now this has been shut down through really no fault of his. I mean, the parking was one of the issues. So I just think if we can get more information earlier, I think that's going to be not only good for the commission, but it could be good for the applicant also.
is it a non-conforming use? Bernadette, didn't you say that? That it was
It's
legally
been
not-
operating since '88. No setbacks, you know, it's up to the property line.
But if it's, here's my,
But the zoning's there. I mean, the zoning allows it.
no, my question is this. If it's legally non-conforming and the restaurant's always been there, but there's nothing in those other two buildings, he shouldn't be allowed to expand into those buildings.
But he's not expanding, he's not expanding the building itself. He's going into the existing square footage that's been there since '88,
But the legally conforming, does it apply to the building or the use?
both. And, you know, that's the reason that he's applying for the SUP right now.
Mr. Chair? I think so. I just want to make a couple of additional comments about the legal nonconformity. So it can be, both can be legal nonconforming. The structure where it's located within the setbacks can be legal nonconforming. Uses can be legal nonconforming. So the restaurant is legal because it's allowed. The building itself is legal nonconforming. So he would not be able to expand that building with the current setbacks. If he expanded the building, it would have to meet setbacks.
Can
The
he,
park,
I'm sorry, can he improve it?
he can improve the building. He's not required parking. That's a legal nonconforming situation. They have been parking in the public right-of-way, but they do not have off-street parking, at least not official off-street parking. And so that is also a legal nonconformity. I don't know what was in the building, in those spaces that are vacant or in that space that's vacant, but typically when you change the use is when you have to comply with current standards, and that's why we're looking at the parking. If there was a use there before and somebody came in with the same use, then we wouldn't be looking at the parking. It's only when they change the use that triggers having to comply with current standards. It wouldn't affect the restaurant, but we would have to take the restaurant into consideration if they're going to add parking to accommodate a use that's going into that building.
So had they gotten a permit when they remodeled for leasing, that would have been brought out?
Yes, at that point, we would have been looking at parking and the situation that currently exists with parking there in the right-of-way.
Well, question I have, is there such a thing as prescriptive rights for parking? I mean, they've been doing it for such a long time for the restaurant.
I mean, the legal nonconforming standards apply strictly to zoning situations. And so any standards that are in the zoning ordinance that existed prior to that zoning ordinance are legal nonconforming. That does not apply to public right-of-way or situations of where there's parking not permitted or it's a safety hazard.
It doesn't apply. Okay. All right,
Thank you.
thank you. Item number 9, the chair entertains a motion for adjournment.
So moved?
Do I hear a second? Second. Okay, any discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you.